Throughout history, many celebrated figures have left indelible marks on the world, shaping societies, cultures, and nations. However, behind their public personas and monumental achievements lie dark secrets and controversial actions that complicate their legacies. Thomas Jefferson, celebrated as a founding father of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, is a figure of great contradiction. Despite his eloquent writings on liberty and human rights, Jefferson was a lifelong slave owner. He inherited enslaved people from his family and expanded his holdings throughout his life. Among his slaves was Sally Hemings, with whom Jefferson had a long-term relationship, resulting in several children. This relationship, combined with his failure to free his slaves even upon his death, casts a long shadow over his legacy of freedom and equality. Winston Churchill, the indomitable British Prime Minister who led his country through World War II, is revered for his leadership and stirring speeches. However, his role in the Bengal famine of 1943 reveals a darker aspect of his tenure. During the famine, which claimed the lives of an estimated 3 million Indians, Churchill's policies and attitudes were widely criticized. His decision to divert food supplies from India to British troops and his dismissive remarks about the famine's victims highlight a callousness that starkly contrasts with his heroic image. King Leopold II of Belgium is remembered not for his contributions to his country, but for the atrocities committed under his rule in the Congo Free State. Driven by greed, Leopold exploited the region for its resources, particularly rubber, through a brutal regime of forced labor and terror. The population suffered immensely, with millions of Congolese dying from starvation, disease, and violence. The international outcry eventually forced Leopold to relinquish control, but the legacy of his exploitation remains a dark chapter in history. Henry VIII, the Tudor King of England, is infamous for his 6 marriages and the establishment of the Church of England. His desire for a male heir led to the annulment of his first marriage and the subsequent creation of a separate church when the Pope refused his request. His second wife, Anne Boleyn, and his 5th wife, Catherine Howard, were both executed on charges of adultery. Henry's ruthless pursuit of his dynastic goals and the brutal methods he employed to achieve them left a lasting impact on England's religious and political landscape. Christopher Columbus is often celebrated as the explorer who discovered the Americas, but his expeditions brought immense suffering to the indigenous populations. His arrival marked the beginning of European colonization, characterized by violence, enslavement, and the spread of diseases that decimated native communities. Columbus's governance in the New World was marked by brutality and the exploitation of indigenous people, casting a shadow over his legacy as a pioneering explorer. Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States, is a controversial figure due to his role in the forced relocation of Native American tribes, known as the Trail of Tears. Jackson's Indian Removal Act of 1830 authorized the forced displacement of thousands of Native Americans from their ancestral lands, leading to immense suffering and death. This policy, driven by a desire for expansion and economic gain, remains one of the most tragic and shameful episodes in American history. Richard Nixon, the 37th President of the United States, is primarily remembered for the Watergate scandal, which led to his resignation. The scandal revealed widespread political corruption and abuse of power within his administration. Nixon also authorized controversial actions, like the secret bombing of Cambodia during the Vietnam War, which expanded the conflict and led to significant civilian casualties. These actions have left a lasting impact on the perception of his presidency. Pablo Picasso, one of the most influential artists of the 20th century, had a tumultuous personal life marked by his relationships with women. Picasso's relationships were often fraught with emotional abuse, and his treatment of women has been widely criticized. His artistic genius is undeniable, but his personal behavior, particularly his treatment of his partners and muses, reveals a darker side to his character. John F. Kennedy, the charismatic 35th President of the United States, is often remembered for his inspiring leadership and tragic assassination. However, Kennedy's private life included numerous extramarital affairs, which have been the subject of much speculation and controversy. His relationships with various women, including celebrities and staff members, were kept secret during his lifetime, but have since become part of his complex legacy. These revelations provide a more nuanced view of a leader often idealized in American history. Martin Luther King Jr. is celebrated as a civil rights leader who fought tirelessly for equality and justice. However, his legacy is complicated by allegations of infidelity. The FBI, which monitored King closely, documented numerous extramarital affairs. These revelations, though they do not diminish his monumental contributions to the civil rights movement, provide a fuller, more complex picture of his personal life. Cecil Rhodes, a British imperialist and businessman, played a significant role in the colonization of Africa. He founded the De Beers Diamond Company and established the Rhodes Scholarship. However, his legacy is tainted by his aggressive policies and exploitation of African resources and people. Rhodes's vision of British imperialism led to significant suffering and displacement of indigenous populations, casting a long shadow over his achievements. J. Edgar Hoover, the first director of the FBI, held his position for nearly 5 decades. While he is credited with modernizing the FBI and making it a powerful crime-fighting agency, Hoover's methods were often controversial. He maintained secret files on numerous public figures and used them to manipulate and control politicians. His illegal surveillance practices and abuse of power remain a dark aspect of his legacy. Enrico Fermi, an Italian physicist, is known for his work on the development of the first nuclear reactor and his contributions to the Manhattan Project. However, Fermi's work also led to the creation of the atomic bomb, which brought about unprecedented destruction in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The ethical implications of his scientific achievements continue to be a subject of debate. Napoleon Bonaparte, the French military leader and emperor, is remembered for his military conquests and the establishment of the Napoleonic Code. However, his ambition and desire for power led to devastating wars across Europe, causing immense suffering and loss of life. Napoleon's legacy is a complex one, marked by both significant legal reforms and the catastrophic consequences of his imperial ambitions. While the contributions of these historical figures have significantly impacted the course of history, their dark secrets remind us that greatness often comes with complexity. By acknowledging and understanding these darker aspects, we gain a more nuanced and complete picture of their legacies. Ultimately, this deeper awareness challenges us to critically evaluate and learn from the past.